Good morning. It's Friday. It's SJU. The shadow of Comic-Con is looming over us.
We'll be there a week from today, Joe.
We'll be there. Oh man, it's so good. I'm so excited. I am excited. It's always fun to get there. The walk there, not so much. I'm Joe Starr, Dan Murrell, Spencer J. Gilbert, Billy Business.
Yep.
Are they making you walk to San Diego?
Yeah, they are.
Take the train. You better go now.
No, I'm on a no-fly, which I think includes rail. Just some stuff I did. It's Fan Friday. We're gonna answer some fan questions because that's what we do. First one, let's just get into it. It's also our top story. Fan question from Revan, Darth Revan. What's up, guys? Do you think it's a bit late to do a Black Widow solo movie? Is this the right time to do it? Or do you think people even want a prequel about a non-super-powered character? Revan, you're showing your bias against non-powered people there a little bit. I know for me it's a bit late, thanks, and I can't wait to hear back from you guys. Rabia Khan asked a similar question. Are you guys interested in a Black Widow movie? I feel like there are far more interesting characters, both male and female, than her, and her time in the movies should end completely.
Wow.
Thoughts? Black Widow thoughts, guys.
First of all, I feel like Revan is short for The Revenant. He's probably a big Revenant fan.
Okay.
And us in the club call it The Revan.
The Revan.
That said...
I do it all for the Revan?
Yeah. Is it too late? I don't know. Scarlett Johansson, at this point in time, has done nothing but snap kick her own foot into her mouth repeatedly.
Yeah.
So the excitement is a little bit dull.
Continuously just does the scissor leg right into herself somehow.
That said, the director seems cool, and they can obviously these things like. They could Spider-Man Homecoming her, where they pair her up with it can be an established character or it can be new characters that we're more excited to see, and they can slot her into just another shoplifted 70s spy genre flick that they reskin with superheroes. And all right, that's cool.
And you're in, right on. Okay. You mentioned the director. That's Kate Shortland. She will be the first female director to solo direct an MCU film. Billy, you saw which one did you?
Yeah,
we were talking about Berlin.
She did the Berlin Syndrome, which I saw. I can't remember. It was a little while back, but
I went to that club in the 90s.
The Berlin Syndrome.
Yeah. A lot of mesh.
It's a really good thriller.
Dumas.
It's like this journalist who goes overseas and falls in love with this guy, and they have this passionate affair. And then she wakes up one day and he's gone, and he's locked her in the room. So it's a little bit like The Room, a little bit. Dirty John, yeah, a little bit old boy. Like it was really good. I think she's going to be a great director, but I think this is also interesting that now that they're like, yeah, this is happening. It seems like going forward past Avengers 4, it's like some of these stories now are like not moving the Marvel narrative forward. It's like going back. Like I wonder if they're just a little gun shy of like completely like. Moving past their old characters. It's like, all right, here's a little taste of Black Widow and what she used to do, but here's 3 new people, just so it doesn't feel like complete culture shock that most likely all the original Avengers are gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a balancing act. Definitely, the comics go through the exact same thing. They've got to find the weird balance of okay, here's your Captain America book, but then also we need to introduce something new. Some of them land, some of them don't, and it's got to be a lot more challenging for. Movies,
$200 million movies.
Yeah.
Well, and we were talking about how this movie has been happening for 6 years since the Avengers came out.
Yes.
There's been talk. When's the Black Widow solo movie going to come out? When's the Black Widow solo movie going to come out? I think that this is going to maybe snap into focus a little bit more after Avengers 4, whatever it's going to be called, just
Snap
because
into focus.
Did I make a pun there?
Like a movie pun.
Snap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Ah! Not intentional. Good one. Even when you said there was something there, I still didn't get it. Because this is kind of, it seems like they're sort of hyping up Avengers 4 as like the last ride of this original Avengers crew. And then we'll see what they do going forward. So, I think this is something that obviously people were very curious about after Avengers, because that was her second appearance in the MCU, and there wasn't a lot known about her character, and now we know a lot more. The flashbacks in Age of Ultron, and then if the next Avengers movie is kind of the farewell, I do agree. Like the timing is like, it seems like if you were going to do it, maybe you should have done it 3 or 4 years ago. However, if they can come up with something that actually adds something to because it's not just the character, but what does it add to the MCU? Or is this kind of a sneak preview of what the future of the MCU is going to be? Which is, we've told our huge overarching Thanos story, and we'll still have stories inside individual franchises, but maybe now we'll sort of do one-offs, which I've always thought would be a great idea, is the idea of doing solo stories, individual stories, commit to a universe inside of your different franchises, but open yourself up to doing one-offs. So, the timing seems odd, but at the same time, maybe this is a sneak preview into what their future is going to be. They just
I just feel like the timing's odd just because it's like, man, we've already had like Atomic Blonde, we've had Red Sparrow, so it's like I feel like a lot of like the elements that maybe this prequel would have been have kind of already been done in a way.
We've had a couple of Black Widow movies.
So like, and I really don't want like people complained about Solo. It's like the Kessel Run. Okay, well it's like they had her and Hawkeye have that exchange in that first Avengers movie where it's like, you and I remember Budapest very differently or something. It's like, don't go do a movie where you show me. Yeah, don't do that. I don't care. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I think what a Black Widow solo movie has to accomplish is. They have to, and it's a little more of an uphill because, like we said, we've had Atomic Blonde, we've had Red Sparrow, and they are similar feeling characters. So a Black Widow solo movie has to, differentiate Black Widow from those films as a character, and it has to really, I think, say something about who she is within the MCU, as opposed to just, like, Cap's friend who says sassy things and, like, has those small guns.
Yeah, I think a lot of the buzz around this, like going back 5 years, was Marvel has still not made a female-led superhero movie, and it was like, when are you going to do one? And by the way, there can be more than one, but at this point, I would rather see a Valkyrie movie. I would rather see a Pepper Potts movie. I'd rather see a Zendaya movie. Like, there's so many female characters that they've introduced in the MCU that to me are just more interesting than Black Widow, but better late than never.
Great script and a great director. You make a great movie, then it doesn't really necessarily matter what it means to the MCU if you can make it a really good movie. That helps when the movie's really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in the meantime, Scarlett Johansson can just keep doing the projects that she thought were going to definitely win her Oscars, definitely. Goo. Hey, you guys want to answer some more fan questions?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. Doran says... and asks, all you Screen Junkies make your living writing in a variety of forms. What are the most difficult things you've ever had to write? I'm asking about any kind of writing, emails, comedy, apologies. I had a hard time figuring out how Slack worked this week. Essays, vows, whatever. What caused the writer's block? How did you overcome it?
Little secret. Writing's always hard.
Yep.
I mean, the few... like glorious times where it's easy and the words just flow out of you are so the exception to the rule that like I don't know, writer's block is like constant. Like it's just hard to put one word in front of the other no matter what.
Yeah, in a way that makes sense. I agree with that. Yeah, I mean the trick is you just don't get to stop.
Don't stop. Be okay writing be like, I'm gonna write the worst version of this, like freeing you up from criticizing it as you're writing it. Write it and then rewrite it, make it better.
I strangely have a harder time drafting an email that one person is gonna see. I'm more concerned about how that one person is gonna interpret that email than I am concerned about how 1 million people are going to interpret something that I might send to you or Joe for an honest trailer. Like, it's, I like go, does that sound, okay, well, I want to make sure they don't think I mean this. Does that sound like, there's no context. Does that sound sarcastic? I'm not sarcastic. Like, I will go over and rewrite and not just like a, hey, do you want to meet up? But like if I actually have to tell somebody something in an email.
The most difficult thing to write, I think, today in the English language is the thing you put right before your name in an email. Is it like regards? Is it best?
Best wishes.
Thanks. Yeah. What is that word?
I see a lot of cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. There's pros and cons to every single one.
I say keep on keeping on, comma, Joe.
That's a good sidestep.
Sail on, sailor. Billy business.
No matter who it's to or what the context is.
Shine bright like a diamond.
I think my toughest, this was an actual assignment because I used to pull back the curtain. A long time ago, I used to write like those like top 10 sexiest celebrities, like those packages. Those are pretty. After a while, you're like, okay, I just have a list of words that are synonymous with sexy and plug them in. But
Bazinga!
They had me help one. Pretty much. Yep. They had me help one of the producers, and I didn't know at the time that like places do this, but they do. They're like, hey, we got caught off guard with Michael Jackson. We got caught off guard with Whitney Houston. We want to like have some stuff prepared for when some of these celebrities die.
God.
And so I was given like packages.
The SNL sketch?
I mean, it's
Gerald Ford.
Bitten by wolves.
So I had to like posthumously write about celebrities that were not dead yet, and then do interviews with people like talking heads talking about their legacy, but they're very much still alive. So that was probably the only time I was like, I don't know how to write that. Like I kept like, I would turn in scripts that were like, no, like your tenses are actually wrong. So I'm like, oh yeah, because
they're alive.
Britney Spears isn't dead yet. This was like the time when
was there anybody that guessed wrong on? Was there anybody that you, Billy, have written an obituary for that is still living and breathing?
I absolutely like started to work on a Britney Spears one.
07 was a tough year.
Yeah, I don't think we ever finished it. But I do know also we were working on Ed McMahon, and I think he's dead, right?
He died like poor Ed McMahon, as I recall. I think he might have died at the same time Michael Jackson did. I think it's Ed McMahon. I think it's Ed
under the
McMahon.
radar.
I think it's Ed McMahon and Farrah Fawcett. Like they did not get necessarily their due because I think they both died like the same day or the day after, and it's just like they got completely overshadowed.
But I mean, like news companies, I guess, do that. I had no idea. That's like there's probably one for, God forbid, Stan Lee just waiting. Like there's probably specials and that's how CNN can do those, like remembering David Bowie like the night that he dies.
Yeah, I know it's morbid, but like Marvel bulk shoots his cameos now. They just do them like
just on different sets. This looks like a Black Widow set.
There's actually a really good Spider-Man story. I remember when I was a kid, I read it, and it was one of those like Best of Marvel 1994 or whatever compilations, and it's about Dr. Octopus, and it's literally what you're talking about. It's like there's a guy at the Daily Bugle, and his job is to keep their obituaries updated. And like somebody calls him late at night and he's like, hey, Spider-Man's fighting Dr. Octopus right now. Update his obituary just in case, it goes wrong. And so it's literally kind of like a flashback origin story about Dr. Octopus, but it's in the context of like this writer updating his obituary. And then at the end of the issue, like he gets a call. It's like, yeah, he's captured. So put it back in the file. And he puts it back in the desk drawer.
That happens.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's real.
There you go.
It's very difficult to do.
My challenging thing was one of my very first writing gig in Los Angeles was rewriting the script that this guy was going to shoot as a feature, and I'd have to go to his apartment for meetings and stuff, and there was just like Mystery Machine levels of weed smoke, just smoke like everywhere, and so I would have to sit and go through notes with him on drafts like while a guy tattooed him. Like it was a weird couple of weeks. So yeah, those were challenging. It was like a weird movie about a guy who fights a biker gang. And just like his weird stoned notes were fascinating.
Write what you know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Write what you know. Absolutely. I was paid in frozen pork buns for that gig. Dan, you liked this question quite a bit. Jarek's question, right?
Jarek, yeah.
Jarek asks, what do you guys have to say about the argument of the original is always better? Dan, you got a take?
I do. Because you will hear me advocating oftentimes that you don't need to remake a movie because the original is perfect. We were just talking about this with RoboCop. But I think there are exceptions to that rule. I would say the original is usually better, or the original is usually at least equal to the remake. However, there are a few times where I do think that the remake of something is superior to the original. For example, The Fly. Mm-hmm. I think that David Cronenberg's The Fly is a superior film to the film that it remade, which is, it's got a great kind of Twilight Zone-y ending, but it's a 50s sort of literally a B movie. So it happens sometimes that somebody comes in and remakes something or redoes something that's better, but I think it's rare.
Yeah, I know it's like at the risk of turning it into a tautology. It's like the original is always more original. and the value you personally place on originality will determine whether you think that's better or not. I happen to think that, yeah, usually seeing something for the first time, and like even if it's dated, seeing something that was original is more interesting. Like, this is coming from somebody, from a person, from their mind's eye to the screen, rather than seeing somebody's interpretation of that.
I think there's a few remakes that I do really think transcend the originals, like The Fly. That it almost, because of that, it almost takes you a while to find out that they're remakes. I had no idea that Carpenter's A Thing was a remake for a long time. For instance, I mean, it's just such a good, cool movie that it actually became the definitive, which I think is kind of interesting.
Airplane's actually a remake.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know. It's hilarious.
You have to do this. I didn't know.
It's a movie called 0 Hour, and if you're a huge fan of Airplane, watch it because it's bizarre. Because it's literally the same movie, and I don't mean like the same plot.
Shot for
I
shot.
mean it is the same movie, the same dialogue, except that they take it in a funny way in Airplane. It is literally the dramatic version of Airplane. And that's another one that I think was, 0 Hour is a pretty standard whatever, but Airplane is one of the most brilliant comedies of all time.
Yes,
Go watch 0 Hour. It's bizarre. It's like it's the closest thing I've gotten to stepping into a pocket universe where it's like, what if this movie wasn't a comedy? And it's literally the same movie. And you're like, this is weird. This is super weird.
Billy, you got any thoughts on remakes that kick the crap out of their originals?
Ocean's 11, baby.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Ocean's
Original's
11.
very boring.
Yeah, the original's not.
I was super jazzed to watch the original afterwards. I was like, is this over yet? Yeah.
Are we done? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You guys, where'd the question go? Austin says, my long-term girlfriend just broke up with me, so I need a good comedy to cheer me up. Part 1 of this question, Austin, hang in there, bud.
Yeah.
Hang
Sorry
in
about
there.
that.
Honestly, that sucks. Keep
Not
your head
fun.
up. Go hang out with some friends. Go bowling. Do something.
Bowling.
And then watch one of these good comedies that we're going to recommend to you to cheer you up. He's been binging Arrested Development, and that's been great. I'm going to recommend Role Models. I think it's
Good
one of the most underrated comedies of the 2000s. It's Sean William Scott,
Yep.
Paul Rudd, McLovin, a little kid that cusses a lot and it's adorable, Jane Lynch.
But then he did it a couple years later in another movie.
And
It's
it
like, this
didn't
is not
work.
cute anymore.
Yeah,
Now it's
it
just
didn't
sad.
work that time. It's so funny. It's about these guys that they work for like Monster Energy and they run their truck into a school
Minotaur.
or something.
Minotaur. Then they need to do like the Big Brother program for
so they have to,
probation or
for
something.
community service, they have to do the Big Brother program, and like one of the kids is just this impossible nightmare kid, and the other kid is like really into LARPing.
Yeah.
And so it gets really hardcore into LARPing.
It's basically
and
a
great.
backdoor LARPing movie. Like,
Yeah.
they sneak in, like, the second act onward is just LARP.
It's
LARP
just
world.
pure LARPing. Joe Latruglio from The State is hilarious in it. From what I think, if I remember this correctly, like he didn't actually have lines in the script. It would just say like Joe Latruglio says something. And so when you watch the movie, also watch the special features so you can just see weird runs of crazy stuff he says in the outtakes. That's my pick.
This may seem too close to home, but I'm gonna recommend Forgetting Sarah Marshall because it's about a guy who seems to be in a very similar situation, and so the first part of it may hit a little close to home, but I think ultimately it shows you that you never know what's around the corner, and maybe even what you think you want. Maybe you think that all that would make you happy is getting back together with this person. Maybe that's not necessarily the case. Maybe there's something else down the road for you in this heartbreak that you're experiencing. So, plus there's puppet musicals.
Yep.
Felted Friend.
Paul
musicals.
Rudd also great in that one.
Paul Rudd also very good in that one.
Weather outside is weather.
So in that situation, I would recommend Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Just get through the first part of it. It might hit a little,
Billy?
I don't think I've ever not been in the mood to watch Dodgeball. And I feel like there's absolutely no dramatic or emotional weight to that movie at all, which is what I feel like you probably need right now. So I would start with Dodgeball, do like the 30-day Dodgeball cleanse. When you're ready, I don't know if we've turned against this movie, but when you're ready and you're ready to like accept the future and things, maybe pop in 500 Days of Summer, just so you know, like, we've all been there. It happens. You get past it. something better will come. JTE will watch his YouTube channel in the background.
Yeah, guys, it's time to wrap up. JT's getting bored.
But to start off, if the wound is still open, then I would say dodgeball it up for just on repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat, dodgeball.
It holds up. I watched it on a plane not too long ago. It's still good.
Steve the Pirate.
I'd say, obviously your romantic relationship is a very important and central one to your life, but there's other relationships that can be just as fulfilling and mean just as much. So I'm recommending a movie about friendship and family, which is Step Brothers.
Yep.
And this is a film that, if talk about Arrested Development, it's just two late 30s improv comics who are just these big, soft 12-year-old boys.
Hitting a little close to home right now.
Yeah, wrestling in a yard. There's not a single thing taken seriously in this movie, but it's smarter. It's smart, dumb comedy. It's just the best. I'll rewatch that movie a million times.
Didn't you just read the
oral history of that movie is just out on The Ringer, and I recommend the read because it gets everyone's perspective.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely would check that out. Also, Black Dynamite, best comedy of the 21st century.
And The Naked Gun.
Yes. If you just want weird, dumb things to watch, I don't think you can go wrong there. Before we get into our last question, I just want to revisit our Muppet controversy from yesterday because someone gave me an angle on Twitter that I thought was very interesting. So yesterday we were talking about are the Muppet Babies canon?
No.
Which that's what I think as well.
Yeah.
Billy believes that they are.
Fundamentally disagree. I think that there's
So it's a prequel to the Muppets?
There's a sprawling kind of Marvel universe of Muppets, and I feel like it's in the pocket.
I thought that they were the children of the Muppets.
No, because don't they reference the
also
Muppet Babies
Well, she has a dream
in one of the
sequence.
movies? Like, isn't there like a...
She has a dream sequence where she's like, wouldn't it have been great if we had all grown up together? And they sing that weird song.
But it happened. But anyway,
But here's the angle someone gave us on Twitter, and I just remembered that I wanted to talk about it, so I didn't get your Twitter handle. I apologize. They put Muppet Babies in canon by suggesting that it's probably a project Miss Piggy pitched to an animation company based on her dream sequence. And so in that way, yes, it is canon because Miss Piggy is probably the executive producer and creator of it.
a show within a show.
A show within a show.
I'll accept it.
Is what the Muppet Show was.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Okay.
you don't consider Muppet Christmas Carol to be part of the canon, right?
No, or Treasure Island.
Yeah, that's
either.
what Muppet Babies is.
But
I consider
then
them
what is the
flashbacks.
established Muppet
It's
canon?
like the
Is
Muppet
it just the
movie,
Muppet Show?
Manhattan.
the Muppet movie, the Muppets Take Manhattan, the Great Muppet Caper.
Did the new show where they did The Office count?
Right.
I never watched
Yes.
it.
I
don't know.
think
It
so.
has to.
Maybe.
I think
Better
it
off, I
does.
think.
As much as we don't want it to, I think it does.
Yeah.
Where like Piggy and Kermit were like separated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that like
I really wanted
sexy Muppet that stole Kermit.
I really wanted to like that show so much. Like I walked away from
Natalie?
everyone like, "Hey man, come on guys. Let's man, that was rough." All right. Final question for the day. Tim says, and this is my favorite greeting we've ever gotten. Sup junks.
Sups, Junks.
Sup?
Sup junks. Which movie is your unconscious movie? Unconscious meaning that movie or movies that are in your head that don't go away, and when you happen to catch them on screen, you know every beat, scene, and line by heart.
Well, this is one that I did not realize was an unconscious movie for me, but I rewatched The Mask. Jim Carrey's The Mask, and I knew every single scene and line
Yeah.
and beat in it.
You
So
know every dance
I
move of
guess
Cuban
I
Pete?
watched The Mask a lot as a kid. There it is.
I think that might be one for me too.
Yeah.
I haven't revisited it in a long time, but I feel like I could do it. Dan?
Shaun of the Dead is one that's all I know every beat, every
do it.
inflection of that movie.
I do it on the
Jaws
night.
Is one that's in my head constantly. It's I mean it's not just movies that I don't think it's the movies that you like, because those are the two that I always say are my favorite. But one of the reasons they're my favorite, or paradoxically the other way around, is that I've seen them so many times that I just know. I think of phrases from the movies. I probably just throw out a quote. Maybe not even know what I'm doing, just because you see some movies so many times that you just have. Glengarry Glen Ross, strangely, is another one that's in my head constantly. I just hear inflections from that movie all the time. I know the beats, the downbeats, the upbeats. I don't know. Some movies just stick in your head that way.
Transformers the movie is definitely one for me. If I listen to the soundtrack, I also know what dialogue goes where because I'm very sad. Holy Grail. I have that
it's probably in
memorized. Wet Hot American Summer, definitely. I know beat for beat at this point. Billy?
So a couple years ago, I was at my sister's apartment before she bought her house, and it's the first time I've been over there, and I was like, man, your neighbor has a really annoying subwoofer. Like, you can't hear the dialogue or whatever they're watching, but you can just like feel the pulsing beats. And I just sat there quietly for a minute. I'm like, they're watching Pineapple Express. I can tell by the rhythm. And so I was like, I have to know if I'm right. So like I went upstairs and just like walked by the door, and I just like kind of put my ear by the door. Pineapple Express.
Wow.
So I know Pineapple Express just by the LFE.
You're
the
the
0.1 of that movie.
You're the Matt
awesome.
Murdock of Pineapple Express.
right? Yeah. For whatever reason, I was like, yep, I can totally tell exactly where they are.
What a
in that
lame
movie.
superpower.
Right?
Just put your hand on it. It's Pineapple Express.
I know it. Is this Neighbors 1 or Neighbors 2?
Neighbors, no sorority rising.
Yeah, definitely sorority rising. Well, guys, that's our show. Next week, the usuals will be back. Roth will be back in the captain's chair. She is bravely leading the charge in Comic-Con right now. But yeah, we'll be back Monday. Next week will be ridiculous, full of lots of different
we'll be
Comic-Con
live Monday
coverage.
And Tuesday.
Yes.
We'll be pre-taped Wednesday because we'll be traveling down there,
Yep.
and then we're coming to you for an hour each day at
Live from the
Comic-Con.
con.
Live from the con.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We usually don't do Saturday SJU, but we have a live 11 to 12 SJU those 3 days from San Diego.
Beautiful.
But that's not all, Billy.
That's
because
not all.
before we even get there, this weekend we've got a Mission Impossible review from Dan. We've got a Skyscraper review. This is really cool. We did an Ant-Man and the Wasp special effects breakdown with Peyton Reed. That comes out on Saturday. That's going to be really fun to watch. So check that stuff out, get your fill, and don't forget to come see us at San Diego Comic-Con if you're going to be there. Our panel's Thursday night, 7:15, room 6BCF.
Bicketh.
Big of-
That's how you can remember it.
My favorite room, guys.
Bicketh.
We'll see you there. Have a good weekend.